When President William McKinley was assassinated in 1901, the vice president, who was nominated to be there to prevent him from changing the old political system, now had the most powerful office in the United States. President Theodore Roosevelt was going to seize on this opportunity to make sweeping changes, and he did. Heck, I didn't know Theodore Roosevelt is the reason the executive mansion, where the president lives, is now called the White House. He did that, but far more important was the transformation of the federal government and using the government's power over big business. He used the bully pulpit to make speeches and have the public listen to his proposals. His trust-busting efforts garnered him praise across much of the country as someone is now taking on the powerful business elite head-on. Intent on living up to his square deal where businesses and labor have a peaceful coexistence with better pay and thriving business, he wanted to increase regulations over businesses that abuse labor. He used the Sherman Antitrust Act to break up large railroad trusts and other trusts that crushed competition and charged high prices. He signed the Hepburn Act that gives the Interstate Commerce Commission power to regulate railroad rates. The Meat Inspection Act and the Pure Food and Drug Act are passed, helping Americans obtain better quality of food and products. Roosevelt was key in creating forest reserves and pushing for conservation by giving power to the Forest Service, protecting the wilderness. The Gilded Age showed that business interests were keen on destroying natural lands with reckless abandon. Roosevelt pushed to make natural areas national monuments. His most famous was designating the Grand Canyon as a national monument. Years later, President Wilson built on President Roosevelt's conservation by creating the national park system. All these things we take for granted now. Without it, the wealth gap that many speak of would be far wider and even less people would control a greater money supply. It would create an environment that would be similar to France before their violent French Revolution. Roosevelt warned Republicans favoring big business how angry the country was. It was necessary to make these progressive changes. The two presidents that followed him maintained a progressive agenda to bring much needed reforms to the country.